What is up, H-Town? Well, Houston, hope you missed us.
We are back.
Better than ever.
Back in the saddle again.
Man, a lot of things going on, guys. A lot of good things to talk about. A lot of things going on in the sports world. Jet, as always, alongside my beautiful co-host.
Oh, stop it.
God, your curls look so good today. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should be.
No, I actually, right before we went live, I booked a haircut for tomorrow to tame these curls. They are a little bit wild. But, today I feel a certain way. But tomorrow, as a man, you know this.
Yeah.
When you get a haircut, no one can tell you anything. You are on top of the world. Your confidence is through the roof. So I'm already looking forward to how I'm going to feel tomorrow after that fresh cut. Do you have a specific barber that you go to that is like your barber?
Yes. I'm also very weird in the sense of like there are things that like I get real particular on, and I may go to a barber for like a month and then all of a sudden be like, even though it's a good haircut, like one of my barbers that this happened to, they didn't use like any type of like shaving cream like to do the lineup, and it would break my face out like really bad, dude. I've got like my skin, I don't know if anybody out there like has this, but like my skin is angry. He has an attitude, and dude, like I'd get done and my face would be like red for like 2 days. It was really bad, and so I had to go get another barber. And
I broke up with my last barber because they continually, and I thought it was just I had sensitive skin on my neck, but I would always leave after they shaved my neck, like my neck bleeding. And I just got tired of having a bunch of just red blots there. So I went to a new barber, and my new barber, she does a great job. She doesn't do any nicks, no bruises, nothing. We're good.
It's also really bad, and my wife gets mad at me because I wear a hat so often. So I'll get like I was blessed with like good hair for like a fade, and it looks really good, but I'll just wear a hat most of the time. So, but
them curls fly, man.
Yeah, I mean, see, I don't have those curls. I wish I did, but one of the big things going on here in Houston, Spence, that happened over the weekend. We had over the past few days was the NFL schedule dropped.
Yes, it did. I had some takeaways about the schedule release. I'm disappointed our guy AJ's not here tonight because I have something of note about the Dallas Cowboys. Did you catch what happened with the Dallas Cowboys?
I did.
4 Thursday night games.
8 total primetime games.
Yes. But 4 specifically on Thursday. They're the first team in NFL history to have 4 Thursday games. It's almost like the NFL said, all right, Cowboy fans, we know you're miserable, so we're going to let you get that misery out of the way before the weekend begins so you can actually enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, go out, have a good time, and not have to worry about what the Cowboys are going to do to you on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, if you guys forgot that it was America's team, you were reminded with the 8 primetime spots.
Well, them or the Kansas City Chiefs might be, because the Kansas City Chiefs had a bunch of primetime games as well.
Well, I mean, rightfully so. They've been in the Super Bowl, like every year for the past 5 years, it seems like.
Yeah, who would you say currently is America's team? Because I would like to throw a third team in the bunch. And, me and John actually talked about this last night on 3-Man Rush. There is one team that is truly America's team, and that is the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, God.
Because they are the only team that is publicly owned and traded. Like I'm a Texans fan, but I am a Packers owner as well. Did I ever tell you that I'm a Packers owner?
No,
have I ever told you I'm a Packers owner? Yeah, I own a share of the Green Bay Packers. So I am invested in the NFL. So make sure you put respect on my name whenever you talk to me. I'm NFL owner Spencer, Mr. Fantasy.
First of all, okay, I'm not even going to get on the same box with the Green Bay Packers thing. But I think the Eagles are actually.
That is not even close to
true. I think because
we have an Eagles fan here, and I know he would disagree with that because he knows how much vitriol and hate they get.
They do get a lot of hate, but they get a lot of hate from like hardcore NFL fans. That's how I look at it. I think a lot of casual people look at the Eagles, and there's a lot to like about them. I mean, you look at the day and age of social media. You've got Jason and Travis Kelce's show. Jason obviously was a Philadelphia Eagle. I think there's some relatability in that. I don't know. I think that there is something to say about that. The other one I would say that definitely can make a case for themselves would maybe be the Bills. I think there's a lot of like blue collar relatability there with Bills Mafia.
Well, I think everyone loves Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And everyone really loves Haley Steinfeld nowadays. And so them two being a power couple, I think they definitely make a good case too. And people love Bill's Mafia, going through tables. So I think that's a good case. We could really sit down and think who truly is America's team. For a while, like it or not, it really was the Patriots for a while because they had the most bandwagon fans. They are literally called the Patriots. So it was really easy for them to be labeled as America's team.
Right.
But I think we can all agree, I'm sorry, it is not the Dallas Cowboys any longer. It just simply is not. Even if they do have all these primetime games, I just don't think that the love of the Cowboys is at the same level. The Cowboys have been, and for better or for worse, they have been a joke for a while. And I say this as someone who I get allegations that I'm a closeted Cowboys fan all the time from you guys. And I'm not a hater of the Cowboys, but I'm just calling it what it is. They are not America's team anymore, and they haven't been since the 90s. Since the millennium turned over, the Dallas Cowboys have not been America's team.
I don't know. I think that during that Romo T.O. era that there was some remnants of it. I think there was some remnants of that.
No, they never got to a conference championship.
But also too, what are we calling for being America's team? What qualifies you? Are you talking about because you're winning, or are you talking about because you have a very extensive fan base?
I think both of those things go hand in hand. I think you get more bandwagon fans, you get more people that just want to front run for a team. So they cheer for them because they're winning, but because there's a lot of people that have that mentality, there's not that many loyal people. There's a lot of cowards in the world nowadays. I think that's where you end up with big fan bases for these front-running teams.
I mean, not everybody's cut out to be a Jets fan. Cry themselves to sleep every night and just continued heartbreak. I mean, just can't do that. Can't all be me.
Yeah, Tyler is
Pain.
Strong being a Jets fan for as long as he's been.
Yeah, hopefully things are on the up and up. But let me ask you this. Reactions to the Texans schedule. How do you feel right now as a Houston Texans fan? How should we be the city of Houston be feeling about the potential of the path to the playoffs this year?
Well, we already knew who the opponents were going to be. And again, winning your division gives you a first place schedule. So you knew it was going to be difficult. You knew already once the season ended, you were going to have another date with Patrick Mahomes, a date with Lamar Jackson, a date with Josh Allen. You knew that was going to happen already. It's unfortunate that once again, they have to go to Arrowhead. It feels like the Texans exclusively play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I know they had the game against the Chiefs at NRG a couple years ago where for some reason, I think that was either the Lovie Smith or the David Culley Texans. I forget which one of those years. I morphed those years together. I know a lot of Texans fans relate to me on that, but they took the Chiefs to overtime that season and they were horrible. And it was one of those moments where you have to remind yourself, this is the NFL. Like any given Sunday, a team can surprise you. And they took the Chiefs, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year, to overtime. It was just bizarre. But other than that, they have not played in NRG in a long time against the Chiefs. It's like they always go to Arrowhead and they always lose in Arrowhead.
Yeah, if you according to Fox Sports, they've got a percentage based on winning percentage of the team's average of the teams that each schedule is based off of. The Texans rank number 18. That's strength of schedule. Which
I'm okay with that. Middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack.
Yeah. Your tough games really are against those AFC foes, right? Now, a couple of quirks that I like. I'm so excited that their week 1 matchup is at Los Angeles. I'm very excited because that means week 1, when we're all gearing up and we're excited for football to get back, all Houston fans will be able to enjoy the first 3 hours of NFL Red Zone or NFL Sunday Ticket, whichever one you prefer to watch, and you can just enjoy it stress-free. Football is back. And then 3:25 comes around and you have the Texans at the Rams in what probably is going to be one of the more hyped up games of the week. It's good. That's a fun matchup. Both teams have playoff title contention aspirations. So I'm excited for their week 1 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you're going to have the tension there and the expectation, I think, from the Texans side with Nick Haley and, his affiliation pre-Texans with the Rams. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting to see, like immediately firsthand in the regular season, how closely related these two offenses look. Like, are we going to see some packages and some plays that are like, oh, we just saw that a second ago on the other side of the ball? I'm excited for it. We got really good show for you guys today. We're going to be getting into here in a little bit about way too early predictions for the record for the Houston Texans. This is the Athletically Declined Radio Show.
This is Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined Radio Show here on 97.5. Jet Boyer, Spencer, aka Mr. Fancy, hanging out with you here. Jet, the NFL schedule was released, and I don't know how we want to do this. We want to just run through our teams that we think really got the bad end of the stick here.
Yeah, we can do that. Here, if you want, I'm going to give you two just right off the rip that I think it's kind of sad in a sense, just because of where these teams are at in their, I guess in the life cycle of this regime and how things are being ran, right? Like for context, guys, like you've got teams obviously that are in win now mode, they're contending, and then the teams that are rebuilding. And the fact that the hardest schedule was handed out to the New York Giants really stinks.
Yeah.
Like of all the teams to get that, like the Giants, and then right up there is the Chicago Bears. I mean, obviously there's a lot of improvements there. I mean, you get Ben Johnson. They drafted well. They added pieces. You're hoping that you get like into the sophomore year a step forward with Caleb Williams, but they're not getting any favors. That is for sure.
Yeah, I think another group that kind of got the short end of the stick is all of us all of us football fans. You want to know why?
Tell me.
Because once again, the ESPN Monday Night Football schedule has 4 double headers that are not double headers. They are concurrent streams. So and there's no red zone on Monday night. So you have to pick one of the games to watch. Now, hopefully, we have one in week 4, one in week 6, one in week 7. There is technically one in week 2, but I have a suspicion based on the way that the graphic that ESPN put out, it might actually be a doubleheader. And that does include the Buccaneers at Texans, which is the Texans home opener. There's a chance, just based on the way the graphic looks, that could be game 1 of the doubleheader, and then Vegas and the Chargers would be the second. But the other 3, it is very clear. They are ABC or ESPN Plus exclusives, so they will be running concurrently with another game. And that another one in week 7 includes the Texans visiting the Seahawks. That's going to be exclusive to ESPN Plus. So once again, it's going to be another season of all of us football fans having to have a million different streaming subscriptions in order to watch all of the games, which is just so frustrating and annoying. And I know I'm not the only one that is annoyed by this. I would pay a handsome dollar, just one coming out of my bank account a month, whatever it is, just to be able to watch all the games, man. That's really all we want as football fans. Just make it easy on us. Most of us will write a blank check and we will watch whatever it is. Just tell us, just make it easy on us.
I mean, I'll say speak for yourself there, because
you like paying 8 different streaming subscriptions?
No, but like the alternative, like just for example, like again, as a Jets fan living in Houston, if I want to watch the Jets games, I have to pay for the NFL ticket. That package is $250 through YouTube now. That is a lot more than having to pay the streaming services that I'll at least get more longevity out of, at least.
And I guess you get the other content that those streaming channels also
it's just
put
like
out.
kind of a pay, like a which one you want.
Yeah, I am mostly just mad about the fact that we can't just have one game on at a time. Like, to me, that takes away the effect of it being a primetime game. A primetime game is hyped up because, as a fan, I'm watching this game, but so is every other fan base around the country. And in your mind, oh man, if we don't show out in this game, the casuals are going to start narratives and it's going to bug you. At least that's how I think, as just a psycho diehard fan for the Texans. I don't like whenever other fan bases are watching the game and they're creating narratives. So now it's going to be even worse because they're going to know the other game's going on, but they're going to be watching the other game and just making up like, oh, on that game, the Texans are playing horrible. It's 17-7, but they're not really watching the game. They're creating narratives based off a box score.
One thing that I am curious about why this hasn't happened before, and you may appreciate this, it's going to be very different having Red Zone without Chris Hansen this year.
Well, that's not official yet.
Oh, is it
not official yet?
Well, I thought that there was a sign off.
There was not. There's not. That's for and by the way, Scott Hansen.
Scott Hansen.
Yes,
I keep saying Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen is
different show,
To
guys.
Catch a Predator. I love that show too. That show too is great.
Justice.
It's no longer on though because he caught some politician one time and it was a big deal. Y'all should look up that story. It's very interesting why How to Catch a Predator is no longer a TV show. But that was great family fun.
Yeah.
Great family fun on that show. That was a great show. But Scott Hansen, last I heard, he is still planning to be on NFL Red Zone. Just a quick, he's going to be on NFL Red Zone. I think it's after this year. It gets a little sketchy. And he has been toying around with other sports. Like he did stuff for the Olympics. Right? He did stuff for NBC. Yeah. So Scott Hansen, our king, every football fan's favorite face. Please stay on Red Zone.
Please stay on Red Zone.
Please stay on Red Zone. Make it happen, NFL.
If that does happen, what I was getting at is I am surprised another streaming platform has not tried to put together their own version with a different coat of paint, if you will.
I just don't think – I think the NFL being the money-driven business that it is, they know what they have in NFL Red Zone. They know that is the best sports show, period. And it is watched by millions upon millions every single week. They ain't going to let that slip away. As long as they can slap their NFL branding on it, they will have that show on NFL channels. Now, maybe we see a deal in the future where maybe it's like simulcast. I could see something like that happen. But the NFL will not let NFL Red Zone go. That will be a part of their NFL Plus package. for forever.
Yeah,
I don't see them getting rid of that.
And if not that, just a way to, like, kind of to your point, you've looked at what like TKO has done for the WWE for being on Netflix now for Raw, and with that being done, you're assuming that at some point there's plans to have all of it there. Like, to be able to have an option to where you could pull it in, like you're saying, to one platform and make it accessible. Because my biggest thing, as you guys have heard, is how expensive it is to watch all of these things. It's just it went up. Like, that was the thing, is when it went to YouTube, everyone thought like, oh, it's probably going to come down. It went up.
All those tariffs, right?
Yeah, it's all the tariffs, man. But what would be your prediction, Spence, for the Houston Texans now, knowing the schedule? Way too early predictions. What are the record predictions as it stands now?
Well, I personally don't think it's way too early anymore. I think now it's just early.
Okay.
Because we've got the schedule. We've got it. We see it. We know the times. We know the opponents. We know the order. By the way, before I give you my prediction, very, very happy that they finally have a Week 18 home game, which I anticipate when that game comes around, there is very likely to be playoff implications if everything goes smoothly for the Texans this year. That could mean a lot, and it's a home game against the Indianapolis Colts in Week 18. But just looking at the schedule, I went through it just roughly. I've got them at 11-6, one game improvement over what they did last year at 10-7. I expect, hopefully, that Nick Caley can get some revenge in Week 1 and really establish himself as a great offensive mind that is going to lead this Texans offense in a way that Bobby Slowick failed to do last season. The Texans can take a step forward, win some games against, yes, a very, very tough schedule, but there are some games here that are very winnable, right? I think every Texans fan knows they're going to drop one stupid game to an AFC South rival. Jaguars, Titans, Colts. Last year it was the Titans. Year before that, it was the Jaguars. They are always due for one stupid loss to an AFC South team. So 11-6 is what I've got them at.
So I actually have them at 12-5.
Wow. So that's very okay. I like it.
So
Makes me a little nervous, though.
One my reason, though, is because I think that your difference maker is you pick one. Like, you want to say that they get the monkey off their back by beating the Ravens, the Bills, or the Chiefs.
You don't think they go 0-3 in that?
I do not see them going.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't last year. They did. People forget, despite crashing into the playoffs and not ending the season on a strong note. They did have a very quality victory against the Bills early on in the season. Now, it would be very, very good for the Texans if they could get a dub over the Chiefs. I think that would show a passing of the torch. But I mean, I've been toying with this take, and I'm not fully married to it yet. But I just keep thinking about, when I think about the Chiefs, man, and we look at the schedule and we see them towards the end of the season, and it's going to be a Thursday night football game. Are we sure that the Chiefs are going to still be the Chiefs that we think they are? Because every year there's a team that's in the Super Bowl that has a hangover, and they are not as good as they were the previous season. And between the Eagles and the Chiefs, I really feel like between those two teams, it would be more likely to be the Chiefs. We saw the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. They got embarrassed. Some might say it was an exposure. And we know that they had a lot of questionable victories throughout the regular season as well. And to me, I look at the Eagles. That's a team that's built to repeat. I think they finally could buck the trend and win the division. We know the stats since 2004. There's never been a repeat winner in the NFC East. I think that ends this year because the Eagles still stacked on the O-line. But all that to say, of those two teams, which one's going to be a hangover team? I think it could be the Chiefs. So by the time the Texans play them later in the season, will that game actually be hyped up? Or will it be a 6-win, 7-win team that's like in the Chiefs that's still trying to fight with the wild card? Like, I'm just saying, let's not just be so quick this season to write the Chiefs as the AFC West winners.
Yeah, I mean, I also do think that there's a little bit of an element.
I know I'm talking crazy, though.
Yeah, if you want to like relate this to like the Rockets and Golden State, I think there's a lot of like similarities here in this situation where, the Texans playing the Chiefs will always, no matter how good or bad the Chiefs are, be one of those games where it's like you have to beat them, or you have to, figure out a way to like not get stomped out of the out of the gridiron.
How they play against the Ravens will be more telling to me.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that. I think that they're as weird as it may sound. I kind of judge a lot of teams that I'm like curious about, like what they are, like their identity, off of how they play the Ravens if they play them.
Yeah.
Like for instance, we talked about it whenever for this past season with Jaden Daniels. Like that was the game for me that I was like, okay, like you went toe to toe with that team. That was impressive. Like I'm in. And yeah, like that this is going to be more than just a good year for you. This is going to be a good year for this team. And it's weird how that is, right? The Ravens, like, although we're not going to pick them to win the Super Bowl,
they're absolutely a team that is a litmus test on, if you're a good franchise or not. They are kind of a gatekeeping team. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be getting into some AD bets. You guys want the lines. We've got them for you. This is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
This is Athletically Declined.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It's the Athletically Declined Radio Show. Jet Boyer alongside Mr. Fantasy. We bring in, as we do every week, he is Mr. A-Train Moore with our 80 bets of the week.
We out you.
A-Train, how you been, brother?
I can't complain. Missed a few weeks. Life happens. But I'm glad to be back.
Back in the saddle.
Been tearing up some NBA basketball. Just digesting it all.
Yeah, give us some winners, man. You know what we want. We want winners.
So everything I have is going to be for tomorrow's game for the Knicks and the Celtics.
Okay,
Ooh,
come on.
Game 6.
The over is 210. And I like the over personally.
Really?
That is minus 110. New York is favored by 2.5 points. That is also minus 110. I do like those. As far
I
as
like that one as well.
As far as some player props, Jalen Brunson over 26.5 points is minus 110. I like that, especially with the question of Drew Holiday and his health.
Yeah.
Jalen's been torching him second half of every single game. If he could get a quick start, I mean, that would completely change it, and they wouldn't have to crawl their way back into games. Which last game, I don't understand what happened. I mean, I don't understand how you lose that.
Derek White turned into
Derek White came out with 34 points.
That
and,
was Derek White really is one of those guys. If he gets hot, he's an underrated microwave from 3.
It's like a Corey Brewer.
When he gets hot, he is the type of player that fits on every single NBA team. Every team, all 30 teams could use Derek White.
The next one I have, I'm not 100% confident on, but I'm going to go with it. Cat, over 22.5 points. He has been a roller coaster this series. I mean, we've all seen the meme of him letting Jason Tatum blow past him.
Oh my God!
Looking all sassy.
Oh my God!
But yeah, last game he had a decent game, and so I like for him to carry over, especially going back to the Mecca and having to close out the Celtics there. He plays a lot better at home. Jaylen Brown over 21.5 points. I think that's a given. The team's gonna go as he goes. So Kristaps, assuming he doesn't have some kind of sickness or illness, whatever he's been going through, over 19.5 points.
We're only doing overs this week,
Yes,
people. That is more fun.
Yes, we are rooting for exciting basketball. We are not going
You
for
get an
unders.
over, and you get an over, and you get an over.
I'm a big under guy in football, but in basketball, I like the overs. I like the excitement. And for my lock of the week, this is shout out to James West. He is currently on vacation.
He's in Italy.
Italy.
He's golfing in Rome tomorrow.
Rome.
Must be rough.
Must be nice.
Must be rough. My lock of the week in honor of James West this week is Josh Hart is plus 150 to get a double-double.
Okay.
All right.
Points, rebounds, I assume. Okay. I think of all those, my favorite is probably just the Knicks line. It was 2.5, you said?
2.5.
I don't see the Knicks fumbling this game and letting it go to 7 with no Jason Tatum. You're going to be at Madison Square Garden. It's a chance to a historic night. They're going to come out. I like the Jalen Brunson over points. I think he's going to be the closer. He's going to be nails, and I don't see the Knicks losing. What a story they have been. It sucks that now it's going to be slightly tainted by the Jason Tatum injury. Some people are going to try to put an asterisk on this series, but let's just remember he played in that game, and they were down 2-1 already. And I know he played great in that game, and that was what was really unfortunate. He was finally playing well in the playoffs, and he hadn't up to that point. He was getting Joel Embiid accusations. He was getting those despite having a championship. We know Jaylen Brown was the MVP last year. So he's finally having a good game, and for his Achilles to just snap like that really, really sucked.
43, 42?
Yeah, he was balling. It was some in the 40s, but now that he is out, I just don't see any hope for this Celtics team. If they were to win Game 6, I would probably pick them to win Game 7 because I don't see how the Knicks would recover from that.
Emotionally, they would be broken.
Yeah, but it ends tomorrow night. So I think that's my favorite of those is the Knicks money line. I don't see them losing this game.
I don't think there would be an asterisk next to their win, simply because there isn't one on the Celtics last year. And the Celtics went through the least healthy Eastern Conference
Absolutely.
that we have seen in a very long time.
Yeah, we know who's going to put the asterisk on it. It's the dorks that just get on Twitter and they argue all day. They don't have any actual respect for the craft of the game.
I would not be upset if Boston won, though, simply because I think having no dog in the fight now, I'm rooting for the Pacers. I want the Pacers to win. They're just they're some middle of the country team.
They're scrappy.
Yeah,
they are.
Cares about. And Tyrese Halliburton being labeled overrated by a lot of players.
Most
in the NBA.
overrated, yeah.
Yes.
Bro, let me tell you what. That is the one guy in the NBA too. He'll get you with a choke slam. You seen that guy at WWE? Oh yeah.
He had them brass
Also,
knuckles too.
Oh
let-
yeah, bro.
Let his dad back
Yes.
in the
Yes.
stadium.
Although
Let him fight the other NBA players.
maybe that was their rallying call, though. Maybe him not being there, they're rallying around John
Like your guy.
Halliburton.
Like the Philly went through it with
Yeah, Big Dom.
Big Dom.
That's right.
Same
I
thing.
mean, we sucked after that, but
Yeah, I think if the Pacers make the NBA Finals, they have to let him attend the game, unless the Pacers really are rallying around him.
put him in a box to where he can't go confront a player.
And
Like,
also going back though to the Knicks thing, how interesting of a world we're in right now, because typically like the associations are like, if you're a Knicks fan, you're typically a Mets fan in New York. And to see like the Knicks fandoms and the Mets like have this turn from what they're used to having, it's really cool to see.
I would not mind New York winning simply because we haven't seen it. Like it's one of those teams that's a huge market team.
It's
and they haven't won, but also they're not super annoying.
No,
I
they're
mean,
not.
They're
You kind of feel bad for him.
yeah, I do kind of feel bad for them. Their fans aren't super annoying. They have gone through a level of sucking that is unprecedented for a long time. And every year it's like, oh, well, you know, LeBron might go there, KD might go there, and they never get anyone. And they built this team with the Villanova boys minus, was it DiVincenzo?
Yeah, DiVincenzo.
Which I love that commercial, that AT&T commercial. But
We'll talk about a win-win trade in hindsight.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
look how great the Wolves are looking now after that trade. Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. Julius Randle, what has gotten into that guy over in the West? I know we're not talking full basketball yet, but the Timberwolves are extremely impressive, and Julius Randle is playing up to the level that he was expected to play at when he was drafted in the top 4.
I think it's because he's not playing 60 minutes a night under Tom Thibodeau. They run that team into the ground.
Tibbs does not know what minutes
They
restrictions
have
are.
a 5-man rotation.
Yes, they do. And that's why they traded for Mikal Bridges, because he was made to play for Tom Thibodeau, because he never leaves the court.
I think Tom Thibodeau watched what JJ Redick did in that second half of that Lakers game and was like, I love this coach. I like the way he's doing things over there.
Yeah. Mikal Bridges, I forget which game it was. There was an overtime game earlier this year. He played more than 50 minutes of that game. He came out for like a breath and then went right back in. Yeah. Mikal Bridges, he's a dog. But I'm very interested to see if the Knicks do close it out. We got Knicks and Pacers on one side, and then Minnesota versus either Denver or OKC. Like, besides New York, this is the small market renaissance, man. I was told by all NBA fans that the small market teams have no chance, that the small market teams are just farm markets for the bigger teams like the Lakers and the Nets and all those guys.
Well, and it's also strange now that these small market teams have the faces of the NBA. You've got SGA on one side, and then, I mean, I guess Denver is technically considered a small market, but they won, so people don't look at them as a small market.
Right.
And then you've also got Ant over in Minnesota.
Definitely a small market.
It's hard not to root for Ant unless he beats your team.
Yeah.
Because you hate him when he's playing your team, but he is an absolute dog. I love the way he plays.
Oh, yeah. He is what Rockets fans were thinking they were going to get a version of in Jalen Green, and that has just not even close to lived up to the expectations. But yeah, and let me say this too: we haven't talked about the NBA playoffs as a whole in a while, because we've had some weeks off, and we were focused a lot on draft talk a lot. But let me just say, after a subpar regular season in the NBA, these playoffs have been nothing short of sensational. They've been extremely entertaining, extremely competitive. There's been upsets. All the games have pretty much been close. Like, all of the series, only a couple of the series have just been like complete washes, like Miami versus Cleveland in round 1, where the Cavs won by an historic amount,
50 points a game,
and then went on to get beat in 5 games by those Indiana Pacers. I'm very interested to see how the rest of this NBA playoffs works out. We're actually going to be talking about it tonight on Batting on the Boards on the Athletically Declined YouTube channel after we get done here.
I think any I'm happy with any team winning other than Boston, as long as Boston does not win.
I like how you said you don't have a dog in the fight earlier, but I was like, I know he's a Boston hater. I know he has a dog in this fight.
the dude is a fraud and he's a poser and he just tries to
Hey man,
steal.
maybe not right now. You know,
It doesn't matter. All right, he's probably posted up.
we don't
waiting-
care that you tore your
He
Achilles.
is waiting to post a picture like Kobe did. You know, as soon as he tore his ACL, he was like, or his Achilles, he was like, "Thank God,
he's
I can
aura farming
recreate-
the Achilles tear.
I can recreate a Kobe picture." And I'm sure his shoes are going to be just like the Kobe 10s, where they have the stitches
Yes.
up the back.
Yes.
I can already see him stealing that as well.
But hey, listen, as always, guys, 80 bets brought to you and powered, presented, however you want to call it, by Skybox. Bet Skybox, guys. If you want to get the best tickers on the market, giving you all the odds, all the information from across the league, go to skyboxsportsnetwork.com. Use code 8010. Get you 10% off your next purchase of a ticker. Just had one sell. Somebody used our code. We appreciate you, whoever that was. That was fantastic. You're going to enjoy that. So we got coming up here next with the Jag of the Week. Got some hot takes fresh off the press. The Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
This is Athletically Declined.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show. I'm Spencer, aka Mr. Fantasy, joined by my guy Jet Boyer. Before we go any further, just want to take a quick moment and talk to you about our friends over at the Sanctuary Gym in Friendswood, Texas. Now, we're doing an ad read for them, but I'm going to go straight from the heart because I love this gym. I am an avid goer at the Sanctuary. I am there every single day that they are open. And what's cool about that is they are open 24/7, 365. They are always available to you. They have great amenities. They have a sauna. They have a cold plunge. They've recently installed a golf simulator
Yes, they have.
on top of all of the state-of-the-art workout equipment that they've got. It's a great space if you're faith-based, if you're looking for somewhere that's, got good faith-based, backing. The Sanctuary is the spot for you to go and get your lifts in. And whenever you go, tell them Athletically Declined sent you by, and keep an eye out for me. I will be over there on the squat racks throwing my life away.
Yeah, me and A-Train get in there when our schedules are normal. They haven't been in the past few weeks, but yeah, and it's really nice too because
you make time for what you prioritize there, brother.
Hey, I prioritize and cha-chang in my sleep.
Oh, but see, everyone has financial problems. Everyone's got personal problems until they've got a health problem. And then there's only one problem.
Here's the deal. I had heart surgery when I was 15, so I already have a heart problem. So, and at this point, like, I'm on borrowed time. So if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die at that point.
That's the spirit, Tyler.
Hey, man, listen. Sometimes there's not enough hours in the day, but we try.
Hey, man, I just want you to live a long time. Sue me.
Hey, listen, I do too. I'm doing better. We are trying. I've been doing walks in the morning when I can't get out there to Sanctuary, but we try to get out there as much as we can. And what's really nice is, so I know you're an afternoon guy. I'm a morning gym person, and it's not super crowded in the morning, which is really nice because typically gyms like that are packed. It's really uncomfortable for someone like me. I'm not like a hardcore gym person. I'm trying to do it to just keep myself in like good standing health wise.
Oh yeah, no, I'm there because I hate myself. I want to make myself clear on that. I have to go.
He's angry with himself.
But it is time for our favorite segment of the week there, Jet. It is time for the Jag of the Week.
Jag.
And if you are joining us for the first time and you don't know what a JAG is, well, let me go ahead and break it down for you. JAG is an acronym, and it stands for Just a Guy. And what we're talking about here are not people that are necessarily terrible at what they do, but they're definitely not great at what they do either. And I'll go ahead and start off, and this is going to be a retread, and this is someone I've called out as my Jag of the Week before, but people are letting this guy off the hook, and I want to make sure that we keep him in the territory where he belongs. And I am talking about the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison. Yes, now he is a Jag. Now, I know what I just prefaced before, what a Jag means is someone not necessarily terrible at their job, but they're not great. And I know before this week, everyone was saying how bad Nico Harrison was at his job because of what he did. Obviously, we all know the Luka Doncic trade, how horrible that was. But now it's all come out this week after the NBA draft lottery happened on Monday night, and the Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance, won the draft lottery. Now, I know everyone, when they hear that, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is this thing is rigged. But here's the problem with that. I'm not saying I disagree with that, because I definitely think there's probably some funny business that goes on behind closed doors when they do that drawing. But whenever you push this narrative that this thing was rigged, you are letting Nico Harrison off the hook by how much of a moron he was for that. All right? By giving him the credit that, Adam Silver and Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka clearly all orchestrated this to get Luka to LA to market him, and in return, Cooper Flagg, the number 1 overall pick, will go to Dallas. That lets Nico Harrison off the hook that he actually was smart to do this, that it actually made sense to do this, when it never did. It never did. I truly believe that Nico Harrison only did that trade with Luka Doncic because he had a personal beef with Luka. He loved AD, and he can say defense wins championships. We all know, any true hooper knows that defense in basketball actually doesn't win you championships, because you can play perfect defense, and if a guy is a great shot maker, he's still going to get a bucket. A great defense still gives up 90 points a game. That is elite defense. Yep. 90 points. That's basically 40 baskets and some free throws sprinkled in there, right? So I don't want to hear from Nico Harrison about defense wins championship. You are a Jag for what you did, and I'm not letting you off the hook just because Cooper Flagg will suit up for the Dallas Mavericks. Could it be rigged? Absolutely. But do I think this was all some giant scheme from the jump? I don't. I think it's possible that Adam Silver rigged it and gave him that just so he would not get the death threats that he's been getting. Maybe that's what it was. Adam Silver's like, I'm going to look out for your safety here, Nico Harrison. But I do not want us to let Nico Harrison off the hook for being a horrible GM. For that reason, I remind you all that Nico Harrison is a Jag.
I love it. And also, too, what I think about whenever I think about that whole situation with the draft is it reminds me of one of my favorite comedies, and famously said by Lloyd Christmas, "So you're saying there's a chance?"
Yeah.
And that's what happened. We have not been on since the NFL draft, which if you haven't seen, you should go back and watch what we did for that. It was fantastic. Thank you all for who did tune in. But Spencer, as we know, you are Mr. Fantasy, and I like to pride myself as on the other side of that. I am the draft guy. And you know, there is one person in this world that also has solidified even more so my disdain, my loathing of, and that is Mr. Mel Kiper. Holy cow, dude. The fact that Mel Kiper has built his career on being the draft guru for the primary draft show, and that we had to sit there and listen to him spew his nonsense for about 4 hours. And the things that came out his mouth were not praising Cam Ward and about the things and how great it was him being the first quarterback off the board. I want you to note, everyone, they did not even show his interview when he went to the podium because the immediate reaction was, oh no, Shedeur Sanders wasn't picked number 1. Newsflash. He was never getting picked number 1. He was never getting picked in the first round. If you had any bit of a brain and looked at the tape and understood things the way that they should be, he was not going to get picked number 1. And to make it worse, Spencer, he continued to make every single pick moving forward about he could not believe Shedeur is not getting picked. Do you know the disservice that he did to all of these kids in this draft class who have put in time, sweat, money, effort through their entire careers, and he did not allow them to have their moment, in my mind, as being the primary voice on the primary draft show that everyone watches on national television. And the entire time you were talking about a 5th round quarterback selection. It is absurd. You should be put in what we call jail. Send him there with Arthur Smith.
Jail.
At the end of the day, Mel Kiper, you still sit in a league of your own with the others like Nico Harris. You are, my friend, a Jag.
Man. Yeah. First off, let me just remind everyone, if you did get bothered by Mel Kiper Jr. throughout the broadcast, you should have just switched on over to the Athletically Declined channel on YouTube.
Pretty good.
We were, and I said this before the draft stream started, we were already going to be a better source for your draft coverage than ESPN. And I just, now next year when we remind people that we are better than ESPN's, draft coverage, which we can just point to this. Like, we don't got Mel Kiper. We got Jet Boyer and Mr. Fantasy. All right. Yeah. We are not going to cry about a prospect for the entire night.
No.
We are too stressed about making sure we get you that pick before they announce it on the podium.
And let me remind everyone that we were the first ones calling for 2 things. And it's crazy that we got 2 big ones this year because we typically get maybe 1, but we got specifically we had been calling for Jackson Dart to be traded up into the first round by the New York Giants, which is exactly what happened. Said it from the jump that he was a dayball guy when people were saying he was going to the Saints. That is what happened. And then shout out Johnny the Dad for being the outlier. We all called him crazy on the first mock draft that we did for 3-Man Rush, saying that he believed that Loveland was going to get taken over the consensus number 1 tight end in the class of Tyler Warren. And that is exactly what happened. That was us.
Yeah. We nailed it. And we were ahead of the draft stream for just about the entire night. There was 1 pick that we didn't get leaked ahead of time. But other than that, we were putting the picks out ahead of time. And that's our favorite stream of the year.
We love Mr. Fantasy, keeping us ahead of things.
I was stressed out. I was smoking cigarettes, apparently,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go check that out on the Athletically Declined page. It's still classic stream.
Yeah, and shout out to Dave and Buster's for hosting as always. You guys make sure that you know that whenever the big game comes, whenever the big fights come, Dave and Buster's is your place for family fun, food, and watch.
Yeah. Now, we will do something for the NBA draft coming up. It's going to be much smaller scale than that, but we are going to do something for the NBA draft. So If you like draft coverage of all the sports, make sure you subscribe to Athletically Declined. If you have not already, especially if you're listening to this right now,
Mhm.
on your car, on your drive home from, wherever you're at, if you're at happy hour with your friends, it's about that time you're heading home. Make sure you go give us a subscription over there on the Athletically Declined YouTube page. We would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, you want to do it. And we'll also take this moment here real quick to let you guys know we are going to be moving to a different format in the next few weeks. So this will be the last show until the 12th of June. We will be seeing you guys back on there. And that will be bringing to you exclusively 2 shows on air. So you will be getting exclusive content from one of the top Texans creators in the business, along with Mr. Fantasy himself in the Swarm. And then you will be getting a show that we have been doing for a long time on Athletically Declined in Hear Me Out with me and Aaron from the Water Boys. It is going to be a lot of fun. We're excited about it. And streets are talking, Spencer. There may be more to come.
There's yapping. There's yapping in the streets.
But we are going to be getting into a little bit of more NBA basketball talk, referring to your Clutch City Houston Rockets. We're going to be getting into that a little bit more right here on the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
It is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show. Spencer, Mr. Fantasy, Jet Boyer hanging out with you here. We are into the second hour of the program, and we are going to talk about those feisty, those pesky, those young and fearless Houston Rockets. They did fall in the playoffs while we were away, so we are getting back for the first time since the Rockets were exodused. That's not a word. They were sent packing by the Golden State Warriors, as they have done not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times. This is now the 5th time that the Golden State Warriors have sent the Rockets home. And so now the Rockets now look ahead to the offseason. There's a lot of different ways they could go. There's people saying run it back. There's people saying push all your chips in and trade for a superstar. Jet, if you're the GM, if you're Rafael Stone, how are you managing this roster?
I just have to first say that there are very few times where you have a me moment
That was not a you moment.
It was close.
No,
It was-
I didn't call someone the wrong name completely.
You made up a word though.
I did. I think that's
That was
actually a word.
impressive.
Exodus.
Exodus.
I think that's actually a word. I just said it.
Anonymity.
I put the wrong emphasis. I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Either way, you're gonna get original words from here too.
Yes,
That's what we do for you. We're making up new things. We're original.
Exodus is a word. You can suck it.
Exodus. Wow, that hurts. Well, I'll tell you this
I
much.
just said it funny.
The Rockets definitely did do that in the playoffs.
They sure did.
But
So, what's the path for improvement for the Rockets in your opinion?
man, I think part of this is, let's be on record. We have both gotten on the very same page on a lot of our feelings about this team and about things go on and moving forward. I got on board with Jalen Green this year. I was a Jalen Green believer. However, let's be realistic now where we're at. The problem lies now is he has now proven without a shadow of a doubt you cannot rely on Jalen Green to shoulder what he was brought here to do. Let's just be honest. What Jalen Green's primary role when he was drafted, this team was being built around him. The emergence of Alfred Şengün kind of changed that plan a little bit. And then obviously Amin Thompson becoming the absolute stud. Spence was on that from the jump. And he is now really being looked at, I think, as a center point right next to Alfred Şengün. I think you are now looking at a situation where if you are Raphael Stone, you have to think that now is the time to utilize Jalen Green with what trade value he has left right now, which I think that he does have trade value, to be able to package that to go get you a guy.
It's not the trade value that it would have been before the season because
Correct.
the contract has been kicked in and we've seen him in the playoffs. And I get it. It was horrible. We have game 2. We can look on, at least see that he's like capable, but those 6 other games where he's scoring 8 points, 11 points, 12 points. When you're the starting 2 guard on this team and you're one of the primary ball handlers for this Rockets team, that's just not going to cut it. And I think that is a clear path for the Rockets to improve. I'm personally, I bought into Jalen Green. I was very skeptical. Back even when the Rockets drafted him, I was more of a Mobley guy. I remember that was a very, very hot debate on Rockets Twitter. Jalen Green, Evan Mobley. I was a Mobley guy. And no, in hindsight, I'm totally okay that they drafted Green instead because it gave us Alperen Şengün, who I would rather have than Evan Mobley for what that's worth. But all that to say, I've never been fully bought in on the guy. There were times where I felt like his attitude was bad, getting into Twitter beefs with guys talking about he's not going to be a 6th man. That's not how he plays. Just very, very egotistical. And I think it all kind of stems back for Jalen Green to not going to an actual college. And I know nowadays the NBA, they go to college for a year and then they go straight to the NBA. It's hardly, they're there at the college for a cup of coffee. But that's different than what Jalen Green did, which was go straight to professional basketball. Jalen Green is the textbook definition of a AAU hooper. He does not play good team basketball. Whenever he gets the ball, he did take strides forward this year in the playmaking department and the shooting department, and he is still young. But for me, I just can't get over when I watch him drive to the basket. He has one speed. He does not know how to stop and pop. He doesn't have a floater. He doesn't have a mid-range pull-up. It's one speed. He goes straight to the basket, and he's not good at drawing contact either. And this is not a guy that you can truly contend with, at least in this current state, at your starting 2 guard. I personally think if they don't want to make a big move, if they want to run it back, I really, really hope they consider giving Cam Whitmore more minutes in this rotation at the 2 spot, because we've seen that he is not afraid to shoot to his detriment at times. He might also have some attitude problems. He might not be Ime Udoka's best, favorite player on the roster, but this is a guy that we know since he's come in the league, he can get a bucket. He's not going to shy away from the moment. And we saw both of those things be problems for Jalen Green. So I'm not even necessarily saying they have to make a trade. To me, the answer at the 2 guard is already on your roster potentially in Cam Whitmore or maybe even Reed Shepherd.
That's what I was going to say. I think that Reed Shepherd, there is a lot of love in that building for Reed Shepherd.
Absolutely.
I think that Raphael Stone and I would even go as far as say I think Ime Udoka both see what this kid can be. And I want to see what he could do. And I like the Cam Whitmore thing. I love Cam as well. I think that you need to see what you can do with both of those kids. But my take on Jalen Green, and this, has always been, I think Jalen Green is a poor man's Zach LaVine. There is a lot of similarities in that game and how they play. I think Zach LaVine's a much better 3-point shooter. than what Jalen is. But I think that his ability as a slasher, because that's really primarily at the age of Jalen Green, what he was, that there were some of the same things, but he learned, I think, how to, the older he got as a veteran, his game evolved a little bit more, became more of a 3-and-D guy, was able to learn to stop. Like, it wasn't just a one-speed thing. And I think at this stage, you've got Amon Thompson, who was averaging more points than him in the playoffs. You had Fred VanVleet averaging more points than him, and obviously Alfred Sengun. I mean,
Alfred Sengun, by the way, was amazing in the playoffs, despite what some people were saying. I know he had some missed bunnies that he could have and probably should have made, but when you lead your team in points, rebounds, and assists, you're good in my book.
Let me tell you something, brother. I've got these. Let me tell you something,
brother.
Like, I've got the stats pulled up here. Like, the kid, like Alfred Sengun averaged a double-double the entire playoffs, 11.9 rebounds
against Draymond Green, for the record.
For the record, against Draymond Green. But still, like, I am very much, you yourself said that was the team you did not want to see them play in the first round. The reason for that, guys, is not because we're super scared of the Golden State Warriors. It's because of the chemistry, the core nucleus of what that team been there, done that multiple times. And whether you like it or not, Steph Curry is dominating in the LeBron James era.
Yeah, and Steph Curry owns the city of Houston.
Yes, he does.
That was such a just demoralizing press conference after the Warriors won Game 7, and they asked Steph, "What do you think the people of Houston think of you?" He said, "They think I'm a winner." And I was just like, oh my God, I hate this guy so much. But he was absolutely right, because like I said earlier, 5 times, never beaten the Golden State Warriors. And I'll tell you this, they have been exodused from the playoffs since then. The Wolves got them in 5 games. And, I think the Wolves, if they're being honest with themselves, they should, send a little gift basket to the Houston Rockets for pushing the Warriors to 7 games, because I'm willing to bet if Steph doesn't have to play 40 minutes for 2 extra games, and they close the Rockets out in 5 games like everyone was thinking it was going to be, if that happens, I think you get a healthier Steph in this second round matchup against the Wolves. And then who knows? Instead of being a 3-1 series, it might have been a 2-2 split, and we might still have a series to talk about in that regard. So Wolves, we'll tip our caps. You earned it fair and square, but, we helped you out a little bit because we wore down Steph Curry.
I also think too, I think there's been a lot of people forgetting like how important a guy like a Dillon Brooks is to the Rockets team. And I think, all things considered, I think Dillon Brooks had a really good playoff.
Oh, I was not going to say
You weren't going to say that?
No, I thought Dillon Brooks really,
could he have played better? Yes. But what I'm saying is I feel like from the standpoint of like what you're asking a Dillon Brooks type of guy to do, he did exactly that. He played that Draymond Green role. He was getting and backing up your guys.
The problem was, though, is the Rockets relied on him throughout the season so much as a shooter, and he simply was not hitting his shots. And in fact, he was opting for, instead of taking spot up threes, which is what his bread and butter was all throughout the regular season, now he's opting to drive the paint and do these little Kobe fadeaways. And he hit a couple of them, and I was like, okay, Dillon Brooks, I see you. But that was what drove me crazy about watching him when he was in Memphis, was he would just chalk up shots, and you got John Morant, you got Desmond Bane.
Oh, for sure.
What are we doing, Dillon Brooks? You should not be shooting the ball 19 times a game. Now, he never became that with the Rockets, and he wasn't that in the playoffs, but there were shades of that enough in the playoffs where at this point, we've talked about these 2 names, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in our next segment, but I'm just telling you, I did the math, did the trade machine. A Jalen Green contract, a Dillon Brooks contract equals $54 million. Do you know who is making $54 million for the 25-26 season? One Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just for the record.
Yeah, and again, to your point, I'm talking to Dillon Brooks, and what I look at him and what he provides is more of the grit. That's what I want. Like, yes, were they relying on him more in the regular season for that? Yes, I understand that aspect of it. But when you get into the playoffs, it's such a different animal. And we've seen what a guy like a Draymond Green can be for the Golden State Warriors historically in their run. He's not always being leaned on to necessarily even do the things that he would have done in the regular season. The dude is getting in people's heads. He's playing a Dennis Rodman type role. And that's what I look at for Dylan Brooks. And if you can do that and be somewhat usable, like, okay, like you're getting more than what I expected to get out of you. But kind of to your point though, yeah, I mean, I would love for if that's the only thing we have to get rid of. I'm seeing some crazy. And it's funny too, Spence, like I was gonna tease like this next segment here with the De'Aaron Fox trade. If you remember when the Rockets were kind of still in on that,
Yeah,
we saw some wild trades.
oh, we had a segment about that.
Yes. And then we saw what ended up happening. We're like, oh, well, that's not that bad. So it's funny, like, how we continue to see these things. And it's like, when it's the Rockets, they want to put, like, trade half the team, and that's how you get them. And that's just never how it ends up happening. I mean, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, fans overprice and overvalue their prospects and players all the time, and it's never matching up perfectly with what the NBA reality is. But on the other side of the break, we will discuss what we think the Rockets' path forward via trade would be in acquiring a superstar. Would it be Giannis? Would it be another person like Kevin Durant? The Celtics might be open for business now. We will discuss some players that the Rockets could potentially look at in a trade. This is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
You're listening to Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It's the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show. Jet and Mr. Fantasy talking a lot of Rockets, some NBA stuff. We kind of teased it before the break. Giannis or KD, Spence? If you are Raphael Stone and you're looking at this team and we are trying to take another step, which we have both agreed in the last segment, they have got to do something if they want to really make a hard run next season. Which do you feel like, or is there an outlier?
So I'll answer the question, but I will tell you there are some outliers that intrigue me. But between KD and Giannis, which one of those would I think would be a better fit for the Rockets? It's kind of just going to depend on. I'll give you an answer, but it's going to depend on what we prioritize here, right? Are we going to want to trade for a guy in Giannis who 30 years old, in his prime? You're going to have him for probably 5 to 6 seasons on a max level deal. He is your franchise player through and through. You're building around him. And he's going to cost more assets because of his age. Or Kevin Durant, obviously older. I think 37 or 38. I'd have to check. But he's obviously older. You're looking at a maximum of 3 more years. And he's very likely going to be grooming someone like Amin Thompson as the heir apparent to take the reins as the Rockets' best player. But he's older, more of an injury concern. And let's just be honest. At this stage of his career, Kevin Durant, we need to address that he might be not the best in a locker room. The last few spots he's gone has ended poorly with how he's left, right? How he left with the Warriors, how he left the Nets. And now the way it's kind of seemingly going to come to an end with Phoenix, is that really someone you want to put in the culture that Ime Udoka has done such a great job of establishing in Houston? Between those two, I think I lean Kevin Durant, though. I think he fits better. He's still a prolific shooter, an incredible shot maker. We talked earlier. It doesn't matter how great defense you play on Kevin Durant. Right. It doesn't matter. You can clamp him up. He will still just raise up and shoot above you, even in his old age. He's obviously still not the same guy he was when he was with the Warriors winning championships. He's not going to be the same guy who was very underrated on the defensive end throughout his career. He's not that guy anymore, but he still can get you a bucket. And anyone that watched this Rockets team in the postseason know they sorely lacked a guy that they could rely on to just simply go get a bucket. That is something that you need in the postseason. You can't rely on just getting quick, easy transition baskets when it's nitty and gritty in the fourth quarter. So for that reason, just for fit, just for assets, I lean Kevin Durant. But I would be very on board getting Giannis as well. But I've also been keeping an eye on, we talked earlier about the Celtics. I'm keeping an eye on them because with Jason Tatum's injury, he is not going to play in the 25-26 season. There's very, very small chance that he maybe comes back for the postseason if the Celtics are in it.
And they're not going to rush him either.
Absolutely not. That's their franchise player. Right. They're paying him $300 million. He's not going anywhere. He is their franchise. But they were already rumored to be looking at making moves this offseason anyways. Now what we're looking at is potential for the Celtics to push pause on their title contention while Jason Tatum, gets healthy. They could ship out some assets. I think one of Derek White or Jaylen Brown gets traded this offseason. And I think either one of those guys would be a massive, massive acquisition for the Rockets. And either of those guys would fit like a glove into that 2-guard spot that currently Jalen Green is occupying. Now, could Jalen Green, the 10th overall pick, and Cam Whitmore be enough to get you a Derek White, or maybe sprinkle in a couple of picks on top of that to get you a Jaylen Brown? I would love either of those players because we have the Ime Udoka. They have the connection there from his days in Boston. The chemistry is already established there. He's the type of player, though those are the type of players that Ime Udoka wants, and they would fit like a glove in the starting lineup for the Rockets. And there's another name too. And I floated it out the very beginning of the season, Tyler. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember.
And a lot of people called me crazy for it.
I like it.
I think LaMelo Ball would be a great addition for this team. He's in like this weird spot with the Hornets where, like, are they really going to build a contender around him? They've been adding young talent for years and years and years, and just nothing's coming from it. LaMelo Ball, I think, is a guy who, if he gets into the right system with the right coach, this being that system potentially, I think he would fit like a glove with what the Rockets are doing. And I think he could play and coexist with Fred VanVleet. he could even start next to Fred VanVleet, or you can make Fred VanVleet your sixth man. I think we have to acknowledge that Fred VanVleet, despite his up and down postseason, which he ended on a very high note, his games 4 through 7 performances were great after just completely bombing the Rockets' chances in games 1, 2, and 3. Fred VanVleet is very important to this Ime Udoka culture. He definitely is going to be on this team in 25-26. I just don't think he'll be on the $45 million a year contract. I've seen the 3-year, $60 million get floated around. That makes a lot of sense for a guy of Fred VanVleet. But you trade for a LaMelo Ball, or you trade for a more established point guard. Fred VanVleet won a championship as a sixth man.
Yep.
I would love that for him to have that role. So there's a lot of names that I'm floating around in my head. But ever since the Jason Tatum injury happened, the two names of Jaylen Brown and Derek White have not escaped my head. I would love to add one of those guys. I also think for Derek White, I really don't think it would take much more than like Jalen Green and then like maybe Cam Whitmore and then the 10th overall pick to get that done. And that would immediately solve some needs because Derek White can ball handle a little bit. He's an incredible shooter. He is probably the best two-way guy in the game today. Just pure two-way 3-and-D. That's probably Derek White. He won a championship doing it last year. He shoots the ball at a crazy clip. I would love a Derek White acquisition for the Rockets.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I mean, the LaMelo Ball thing, just like for
that would just be so much fun.
It would, in honestly, sneaky, kind of like went under the radar. Had arguably his best season this year.
Absolutely,
averaging 25 points a game. You throw in almost 7.5 assists. Like, I mean, there's
some of those numbers would go down though, because you remember high usage with a bad Charlotte team. Those are bad team numbers, but that doesn't mean that he is a bad player. He would fit in here perfectly, and that's a guy that you can isolate at the end of a game, and he can get you a bucket.
And see, the only pushback I will have to that, and why I feel like maybe they wouldn't go that direction, is you already are dealing with a situation where you are growing and trying to mature a younger team. And to me, I'm looking at it as, yes, like to your point, like you would be, if you had Fred VanVleet here, he could be a good mentor to a LaMelo Ball. But if I'm Ime Udoka and I'm looking at like what worked, the people that I know that can do the things I need them to do, I'm trying to do everything I can to go get Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I would love that.
I think that there's a lot to like there. He doesn't I like that he doesn't mess up the core fundamentals of what they do good. So you're taking a Jalen Green. I would even go as far as, and even though like I don't like this in my soul, but if you told me that Jalen Green, one of the picks, let's say Cam Whitmore, and if you had to throw Jabari Smith in there, and that gets me Jaylen Brown, I'd do it.
Yeah,
I would do it. I think that it would be that big of a difference maker, and you would finally have someone that has not only been there, done that, but he has been leaned on to
be a finals MVP you're talking about.
Yes, that is a guy that can shoulder the weight of being the primary like difference maker in a playoff series.
Yeah, he's not the prolific isolation scorer that maybe you would want, but he can do enough to create his own shot that I'd be comfortable looking at him as like the Rockets alpha. And I also think he would take that opportunity. He's been someone that, despite the finals MVP, he has been in Jason Tatum's shadow. He has been the Robin to Jason Tatum's Batman. And I know everyone jokes about that's not really the case. It's the opposite because Jason Tatum has no aura, which is true. He is the goofiest superstar in the league. But just looking at it realistically, Jaylen Brown is not the guy there. He might want to be the guy, and he would be the guy in this backcourt with the Rockets that they'd be building around. A lineup that if you threw in a lineup of Fred VanVleet, Jaylen Brown, and then Amen Thompson or Tari or Jabari, if they're on the contract still, and then Şengün. You've got Reed Shepherd coming off the bench because he better have a role next year.
Has to.
I think that's what they were keeping him out of trade talks. They're very high on him. I even read one report that said like it's Amen Thompson, Şengün, and Shepherd as the guys that they prioritize the most in their development. So they have plans for Reed Shepherd. But you have that's still a very deep rotation. You didn't dig into the well of the arsenal of picks and assets too much, and you can make an easy deal for Jaylen Brown. That's a smaller price to pay than you're having to pay for a Kevin Durant, for a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, and again, let's just remind everybody what I like about this, to what you're saying. I love it's great. What I was going to go into, the Houston Rockets, last time they took a sidekick and put him down here, worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that was one bearded James Harden. Absolutely.
And I think that, again, James Harden's one of the, what, like him or not, one of the best playmakers ever.
Absolutely.
I do have this, and this is hot, but I got this little thing in me that what I think, some of the things I love about Jaylen Brown, I think there's an opportunity he could be better. There's a possibility because a little bit more height, got a little bit more of, to me, he can do a little bit more. I think Harden
He's still only 28.
still only 28, and give him the keys, and all of a sudden, like a guy that's going to start averaging, maybe already averaging 25, you start averaging, say, 30 to 32, start getting a few more like things under your belt in terms of grabbing some more boards. I don't know. I think that there could be a case. There could be a case.
I don't hate it at all. I think Jaylen Brown has that. I think he's got the mental makeup to be the alpha of a team, and that's what I'm saying. He might take this opportunity that he might say Jason Tatum on the shelf. He might want to seize that in Boston and stay on it. But coming up after the break, we will continue to break down what the Houston Rockets offseason will look like, what guys on the roster are going to be moved, what guys are going to get paid, and what guys are going to take a step up in the rotation. This is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
You're listening to Athletically Declined
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It's the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show. Jet, Mr. Fantasy. I'm breaking down what the Rockets offseason could look like. We're just breaking down the possibility of what a Jaylen Brown acquisition would be, the potential of what he could turn into. Spence, do you have any more kind of things? I think personally one thing that was interesting, I'm sure you saw this, of kind of the Devin Booker thing kind of not being an option anymore. I read. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. That was a bombshell report by Kelly Eco and Sam Amick of The Athletic. That was a very eye-opening report because what I noticed in that, it was not the list of guys that they were talking about that they weren't going to trade. You know, they said they're not trading Amin Thompson, just no chance. But they did not mention anyone else. They mentioned Amin Thompson. They didn't say they wouldn't trade Şengün. They didn't say they wouldn't trade Jalen Green. They didn't even say they wouldn't trade Reed Shepard. They said Amin Thompson is untouchable. No one is trading for Amin Thompson. So get him out of your trade proposals all offseason, NBA fans. He's not going anywhere. Now, that's our Lord and Savior. Amen. That's how I like to think about it. All right. So he's not going anywhere. Now, some guys I do think it's interesting are Jabari and Tari. Both of these guys came in the league at the same time, and both are extension eligible this offseason. Now, what I think is most likely for both of them is they play out their final year of their contract in year 4, and they hit restricted free agency, and then we talk contracts at that point. But I don't see either of them getting an extension this offseason just because of what the money's looking like.
Yeah.
However, if one of them were to get a contract, that's going to solidify them as an integral piece for this team going forward. And that would mean that they aren't going to get traded for the 25-26 season. So this is the offseason. They're going to have to decide, is this someone we're going to have in our plans for the future? And if they are, I would say, yeah, go ahead and pay them now. But if you're not going to, and they really are going to play out this final year of their contract, they might be the trade pieces that we need to look at in KD, in Giannis talks.
Yeah, and as weird as it may sound, because I love Jabari.
Me too.
I would rather give up Jabari than Tari.
Really?
I would. I love Tari Eason's game. Like, I just like the scrappy, very like just, I don't know, like there's this edge to the way Tari plays that I really like.
He reminds me of a more polished, more skilled Corey Brewer, is what he really reminds me of. He's wild. He's all over the place, kind of goofy looking too.
Yeah.
But Tari's a much better shooter, much more physical on defense. I agree with you. The problem with Tari is we have never seen a season where he was able to play a healthy amount of games, right? He's always fighting injuries, and it's just one thing, like, can we really depend on him for a 60 game, can we depend on him appearing in 60 games? And that's already you missing 20, and that's a fourth of the season. But 60 games, that would be enough for you to contribute. That's also enough for you to be NBA award eligible. But I don't know that we've seen Tari Eason even hit that in his career yet. It's been very injury riddled. And so I love what he brings when he's healthy on the court. It's just, when's he on the court? How long is he going to be able to stay on the court? We don't have those same concerns that we do with him that we do with Jabari. But for those reasons, I think Jabari's contract is going to cost you a little bit more than Tari's would, because of how versatile he is and how dependable he is. And that Rockets playoff series against the Warriors, I didn't see a lot of people talking about how great Jabari Smith played in his limited minutes, which to me was a problem. I was screaming the whole series, less Jalen Green minutes because he's not got it, more Jabari Smith minutes because he's rising to the occasion. It seemed like every time Jabari Smith shot a three, it went in.
45%.
Yeah, he was on fire from three in the playoffs. And for me, I see that performance in the limited minutes that he had. That's a guy that he's a glue guy. He's a guy that you don't need to worry about forcing shots to him, although maybe they should have in hindsight. But that's a guy you build around. That's a guy you want in your starting lineup. And especially since he got demoted to the bench, with the emergence of Amin Thompson, if you're making consolidation trades and you're trading some of these assets, or someone like Steven Adams walks, Jabari Smith has a chance to get elevated back into the starting lineup.
Right.
And either way, I think he is such an important part of what this Rockets defense is made up of because of his versatility to be able to guard 1 through 5. Although I will say, and if there was any criticism you could have of how he played in the playoffs, it was how he played on defense. Steph Curry
Which is weird.
Well, Steph Curry is Steph Curry, but there was a couple of times I was like, oh no, he is hunting Jabari and he is cooking him. But regardless, I want Jabari to be a part of this team, but you can't overlook how valuable of an asset he would be. But regardless, I really think the best path forward, I really am curious to see on the open market, and I really have no idea what this would be. What would just giving up Jalen Green and the 10th overall pick get you? Just those two things, because I don't think really the Rockets necessarily need to make the big grand slam swing for the fences trade of KD or Giannis. They just need to upgrade from Jalen Green. And I don't want to see them make a selection at number 10. There's already so many young guys on this roster that aren't getting minutes. I don't want to draft another guy at 10 in an admittedly good draft class. There's some guys at 10 I think would be great fits for this Rockets team. But when you're already struggling to get guys like Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore minutes, I don't want to see them just add another guy that's just going to be sitting in the G League all season. This is a team that's ready to contend. That 10th overall pick is a good pick. Put it in a trade offer. Like, what could Jalen Green and that pick get you? Would that be enough for someone like, I don't know, a DeMar DeRozan? Just someone off the top of my head I think you could probably get on the cheap. I would do that. I would absolutely do a trade. Real easy. DeMar DeRozan for Jalen Green and the 10th overall pick. I don't know if the Kings laughed me off the phone for that one. If there's some random Sacramento fan listening right now, maybe you could let me know. I don't think that's crazy, though. And I think both teams would benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not a three-point shooter, though, but he is someone that you can isolate in the mid-range, and he can get you a bucket, which, again, we need that. Rockets need that badly.
Would you like to hear a very off-the-wall, like, evaluation of the package?
Okay, let's hear it.
So I'm going to give you the AI, what ChatGPT said.
Okay.
These are the names you can expect to be able to potentially get with a package of Jalen Green and the number 10 pick.
Oh, I love when ChatGPT talks ball.
ChatGPT bringing up some balls.
ChatGPT knows ball.
They're giving you descriptions of what you're getting in the player. This is fantastic.
I love it.
Mikal Bridges.
Okay.
Brandon Ingram. You're going to think this is hilarious because this is the funniest one to me. Zach LaVine.
Okay. That one would excite me.
Yeah. So you get the full version of Jalen Green.
Yeah, right. But what he should have become.
Right.
Brandon Ingram, I don't see being realistic because he just got traded to the Raptors. I think he's going to be a part of their team.
For sure. DeJounte Murray. I actually like that one a lot.
That actually is interesting. I think he fits Ime. I think he's someone that is he still with the Hawks? I need to look that up. I thought he might have gotten traded. But I could get on board with that.
Then the last name on here
he's on the Pelicans. That's right.
Is OG
Anunoby. Yeah.
Anunoby.
Yeah. Both those Knicks guys, I think, well, with what we're seeing with the Knicks right now, I don't think, man, I really don't think the Knicks are going to be breaking up that core.
But I got a little bit more. You got some bonus for you.
Give me some more.
ChatGPT gave you a bonus. It said wild card swings. It says if a star is forced out.
Okay.
This is very interesting.
Well, before you list the names, if anyone's going to think these names are unrealistic, just remember Luka Doncic is a Laker.
Now, the caveat is it says if these guys force their way out, Jalen Green plus the number 10 pick could be a centerpiece of a package in a larger multi-team deal.
That would mean they're going to ask more from the Rockets, but go ahead.
Donovan Mitchell.
Okay.
Trae Young.
Okay.
And LaMelo Ball.
There we go. Now, I'll be honest.
And it says unlikely next to him, but valuable, which is very interesting.
I'll say this. Donovan Mitchell is a name I have seen get floated around because of how the Cavs exited the playoffs. It was not a good showing for them. They lost in 5 to a Pacers team that they were, to me, clearly better than on paper. This is a 60-win Cavs team, and if you're not getting it done right now, I just see them. There already were rumblings before this season that the Garland and Mitchell combination wasn't going to work out.
Right.
Could we see Spida force his way out? I think Donovan Mitchell, with what we've seen him, how he turns up in the playoffs, very underrated. I know he hasn't gotten past the second round, but it's never been his fault. When he was with the Jazz, You put that solely at the feet of one Rudy Gobert, who constantly no-showed for the Jazz when he was there. And now with the Cavs, last year the team really wasn't that great, and this year we know how great they were in the regular season, but the team around him kind of faltered against the Pacers in this series. And there were some injuries. Mobley didn't play some of the games. Darius Garland didn't play some of the games. But there was nothing wrong with Donovan Mitchell. So if Donovan Mitchell were to become available, I would love for that to be the acquisition. And we also know Rafael Stone loves Donovan Mitchell. There have been rumors about the Rockets being interested in Spida before. I think that makes a lot of sense. But it just would have to be one of those things where he forces his way out, or it comes out of nowhere at 11:18 on a Friday night, like the Luka Doncic trade happened. But I also think this too. Rafael Stone is someone who historically, as the Rockets GM, has been very close to the chest. He doesn't let a whole lot of things leak out,
which is not a bad thing.
Not at all. But because of that, maybe we are looking too much into these rumored interests in Kevin Durant and Giannis. Maybe these are just smoke screens that Rafael Stone loves to put out before he goes and does a trade that no one saw coming, that didn't really register on anyone's radar. And it could be for a Spida Mitchell. It could be for a LaMelo Ball. A Trae Young would be interesting. I just don't think he's an Ime guy, but I would love to get that level of shooting and that level of playmaking ability with the Rockets. And just hopefully the rest of the team can cover up his defensive lapses.
Yeah, just for what it's worth, I went ahead and added, like, what if you added Dylan Brooks and if you added Cam Whitmore, and the names that popped up as immediate added Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, which I do not think is likely.
That could be an interesting fit with Şengün, though.
Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, but that's just another thing. Like, I just
don't
can't see
think
the
they would.
Pacers breaking it up right now.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, but coming up, we got one more segment. After this, we are going to have a little bit more fun with ChatGPT. The NHL could come to Houston one of these days, and when it does, we need to have a name ready. We will discuss that on the other side. This is the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show.
This is Athletically Declined.
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Now back to the remote Veritex Community Bank Studios with Jet Boyer and Spencer Nolan.
It is the Athletically Declined radio show. Jet alongside Mr. Fantasy. Have a little fun with AI. So before it takes over the world and destroys us all, we'll have a little fun.
Has it already not?
You're right. They brainwashed me already.
They kind of already have, man. Some of these advancements are just crazy. Some of these people need to watch The Terminator and just remind themselves what happens.
Yeah, that's true. Or just have them two phones of chat GPT on it fight each other.
Dude, those
wild.
videos are weird. Have you ever seen the video of two Amazon Alexas talking to each other?
Oh yeah,
that is freaky stuff, man. I don't like that. Like I said, I've seen The Terminator before. I know how this ends. I'm not interested in that. But while we have it on a lower level, I like to have a little fun with Chat GPT. And with the NHL playoffs going on right now, I know you and I are both bandwagon Edmonton Oilers fans who advanced to the Western Conference Finals. We are only Edmonton Oilers fans because we don't have a team to cheer for down here in Houston. And it just made sense to cheer for the front-running team that's got the best player on earth, right?
Yeah, and I also like to dabble with the Rangers a little bit as a New York Jets fan. A lot of those guys end up being
There's some crossover.
There's some crossover.
Yeah.
So I'll pay attention a little bit.
Yeah, but we are abandoning those ships as soon as Houston gets a team. Now, there's been rumblings for years that Tillman Fertitta is going to do it. There's I even saw recently there was another billionaire who's going to throw his ring.
I saw that as well.
I forgot his name, but he's going to. I think Houston will be a part of the next expansion that the NHL does. And when that does, I asked ChatGPT to give us a list of some names. Now, I'll give ChatGPT this credit. If you had asked me just beforehand, I had a name already, and it was the Houston Apollos.
Yep.
And I've loved that. It was a finalist to be the Texans name, which in hindsight, I say this all the time. I hate the Texans name. I really do. I love the Houston Texans franchise. That's ride or die. That's my team forever. But I so wish they could just rename their team something else. The Houston Texans, really? That's just not creative. How did that beat out Apollos? So in honor of that, that would be my first choice. And I asked ChatGPT, and they said that the Houston Apollos would be its first choice as well. Why it works. It's a nod to Houston's connection to NASA and space exploration. The name sounds sleek, modern, and powerful, and I tend to agree. And then there's a bonus. There was a minor league hockey team in Houston in the past called the Apollos, so there's some historical precedence there. Some other names it gave, and I'll just, Jet, you give me like 1 through 10, what you think of this name, how much it would excite you.
Okay.
Number 2, I don't know if this one would work because of branding and copyright, but ChatGPT lists out the Houston Comets.
I do like that one. I saw that on mine as well.
Give an homage to the WNBA
Give
team
me
that
an
doesn't
8.
exist. I like that. An 8. All right. What about the Houston Outlaws?
That is a 10. I love that one.
You like that one?
Yes.
Okay. This next one's funny. How about the Houston Armadillos?
Yeah, that's a 4.
You're not intimidated by the Armadillos. ChatGPT says this is why it works. Unique, regional, and fun. Armadillos have tough shells, a metaphor for defense. It's quirky, but could become iconic like the Mighty Ducks.
No.
That doesn't sell you on
not-
armadillos?
no.
I'm not selling you on armadillos? Okay.
No.
Well, the next one, the Houston Gamblers.
I like that. An homage to the
USFL team from 1980s. The city's big money oil boom history. It feels bold and risky, which is fitting for hockey. Next one, the Houston Wranglers.
Give me a 6.
I think I agree with that. It's ChatGPT says it's very Texan, evokes strength, control, and Western tradition. Yeehaw, cowboy.
Yeehaw.
Now, this last one is my favorite one of all the ones that ChatGPT suggested. What do you think about the Houston Inferno?
I don't hate that one.
Relates to the heat of Houston and has a fierce, energetic feel, fitting for a fast-paced game of cold ice hockey, which I like the irony there. Like
Yeah.
the Houston Inferno, it's already kind of funny that we have an ice hockey team in Houston, Texas. It's going to happen one way or another, but it is ironic that no one down here plays hockey, but we have a hockey team. We call them the Inferno. We just go melt the ice and watch it drown. That's how we're going to beat you.
Well, let me give you a few of mine. There's a few that you didn't say that I have on here that
All right.
I thought was pretty good.
Hit me.
How about the Houston Ice Hawks? I actually really like
Well,
that
hang
one.
on. Is this like the Seattle Seahawks, where a Seahawk is not an actual bird, or is there an actual ice hawk?
I don't know.
A-Train, can you look up if an ice hawk is actually real or not?
Okay,
And we got
so
A-Train looking
if
that
it's
up.
real, does it change?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be like the Seahawks, where no one can figure out what a Seahawk actually is. Is it an osprey? There's another one that I forget the name of it. I always forget it. They talk about it on Pardon My Take all the time. But the actual logo of the Seahawks is based on a different bird. It's not an osprey. And again, Seahawks, that's not a real bird. Doesn't actually exist.
It's
Ice
not
hawks
real.
aren't real. Yeah.
Ah.
So I don't want that one. To me, that's going to be a 3.
Okay, the Houston chill.
The Houston chill.
It grew on me.
Daddy chill.
Daddy chill.
Daddy chill. No, I don't like that one.
Okay.
I don't like that one. The Houston chill. It's not. That's why I liked Inferno more, because it's hot down here. We don't get to chill except for like a month of the year down here in the H.
The Houston Frost line. I like that one.
What was the prompt you gave your chat GPT? These are some very weird ones.
Yeah, well, I like going past the first layer to see what it's going to strum up. Like another one for you, the Houston Venom.
Okay. Now
That's pretty cool.
You're getting me warmed up on that
Okay.
one. Does it have a reasoning for Houston Venom?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I just said give me some names.
Okay.
Another one again, like this maybe has a little bit more to it. The Frozen Hawks.
The Frozen. See, is that even a bird? I don't think that's an
No.
actual bird. It needs to be a real bird. I don't want to be the laughing stock of the NHL before we even play a game.
Okay, this one I do like, the Dark Matter.
Okay.
That's
The Houston Dark Matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also have the Black Ice, which is kind of cool.
Careful on that one. The Houston Black Guys. The Houston Black Guys, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Black
better be
Ice.
intimidated by the Houston Black Guys. It's very intimidating. You walk on the other side of the street. Lock your car doors. The black ice are coming.
They also had the Lunar Blades, which was interesting. Kind of long, but the Lunar Blades.
Okay. The lunar blades. What is ChatGPT? What is a lunar
What
blade?
is a Lunar Blade?
It's just it's almost like ChatGPT is just drawing names out of a hat and just slinging them together.
Yeah, they also had the Frostbite, the Ice Runners, the Astro Puck, which I don't even know what that is.
I gotta imagine the Astros would be like, hey, yeah, you can't use that.
I
name.
can't use that.
Copyright.
I do like the Houston Havoc. That was pretty cool.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I like that
I could
one.
get on board with the Havoc.
The Bruisers. And it did say, like, for the Bruisers, like your tagline, the Bayou Bruisers. I was like,
Bayou Bruisers?
Now that one
I could get on board
makes
with that
me
one.
feel like the Mighty Ducks a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you could get kind of a throwback 90s, like cartoony type of logo.
Just not the Houston Armadillos.
Yeah, just don't give me the Armadillos. I do like the Blizzards too.
The Blizzard. See, that's just so ironic because it's just never cold in Houston. It just makes no sense.
They did have the Scorch. That was kind of cool.
I like that. I could get on board with that.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of these names are like they're changing the fact that you're gonna have to put Houston in front of it. Like there is no world where I see any Houston team deciding that they're going to pull a page out of Dallas and go, we're gonna be the Texas Battle Lines. Like, no, that is not a Houston thing to do.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. And all of the Houston sports teams, again, except for the Texans, they're all space themed. I like the Rockets, the Astros. So that's why for me, Apollos would be my top answer. Like the Houston Apollos hockey team. That sounds
color
good.
scheme. Go.
Color scheme. Oh, that's interesting. I don't want to just say red, white, and blue because that's what all of the Houston teams are, is red, white, and blue. Can we get some purple in there? I'm a big fan of purple.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, you can.
I might be a little biased, right?
A little black.
I might be a little biased. Maybe some like Diamondback green in there.
Yeah.
You see what you picking up what I'm putting down now? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that working out. That's a beautiful logo. We
It's a
know that's a beautiful
logo.
color scheme.
And also, Anaheim, your trash is another man's treasure. Should have never gotten rid of those. I'll tell you this much. If they were to have actually continued to utilize that color scheme and not gone away from it, I would have been a Mighty Ducks fan still. You lost a fan. It's your
Man,
fault.
that's trash. I'm sure they're up late at
I'm
night
sure
thinking
they
about
are.
that one.
You know?
Well, are there any more names you want to rattle off for us?
I've got the Fiends.
The
That was
Fiends?
kind of a cool one.
Is that with a D or like FEIN, like the Travis Scott song?
FIENDS.
Okay,
The
so the Fiends. Okay, I think it'd be better if we took a page out of Travis Scott, Houston rapper, and we just were the Fiends with no D, just the Fiends, like Fiend. You know the song?
Fiend.
Yeah.
It was for WrestleMania, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I also do like that it continues to bring up the arrows and show the homage to it.
I just don't think, again, it's copyright. I just think the branding wouldn't work.
Okay, so again, this is why AI is smarter than us. It gave an alternate as the number 1. It says as the arrows, ARROWS.
Okay.
And it says real historical team, tons of legacy, alleviating the copyright.
Okay.
That was pretty interesting. And then it also had the Barons. That was kind of interesting as well.
The Barons. I mean, Texas, historically, there was a lot of Native American tribes that roamed around the lands of Texas. So the arrows spelled ARROWS, that does still make sense. I think arrows spelled AEROS. I had to think about the spelling for a second.
Yeah.
That's more of an homage to like aerodynamics and space and stuff. But
right. You also had the Drillers. I think you said that one. And I know that this is another team, but we've obviously seen in hockey, like they do not care. And they will like use other team names, i.e. the Rangers. But they had the Thunder, the Houston Thunder, which I thought that was actually a pretty good one. And then they also had the Storm, which again, I think that's, Houston's weather is unpredictable.
Yeah. But that is all we've got time for tonight on the Athletically Declined Sports Radio Show. It will be a couple weeks before you see us again. I know you missed us before, but when we come back, we're going to have brand new programming for y'all. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yes. So for Jet Boyer, for Abigail running stuff behind the scenes, for A-Train, Alex Moore, I'm Spencer, a.k.a. Mr. Fantasy. We will see y'all next time. And until then, H-Town, y'all take it easy.